at university, you want to make sure that there's some sort of tailoring to you. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you to not revise and just train instead. It might just have to be a period of your life where you might sacrifice a little bit of your training just so that you can get the grades and the results you want. You can get as strong and as strong as you like in the gym, but there's only so much transfer it's going to have to your track events. I didn't finish the Commonwealth Games and have floods of offers in my inbox from sponsors. You are going to have to go out of your way to find it because it's not going to just land in your lap.
What would you say your training shift was when you went from college to university? Like, do you feel you were able to, I don't know, get more out of your training, or it just suddenly ramped up loads, and do you feel you made like leaps and bounds because of it, or do you feel because university was such an intense change that like living on your own and like having to food for yourself, that type of thing, that it actually like hindered you?
So yeah, my training when I went from school to university, it ramped up a lot. I did take a gap year in between, which sort of prepared me for it a little bit. But I think it all just depends on the group you choose at your university, because everyone's going to be completely different. So if you're going to university mainly for your training, then you need to research all the groups that you might want to go to. Go and talk to the coaches. Go and get an idea of what the training program is going to be, because some people are built for massive load and they do loads and loads of training all the time. And some people maybe aren't built for quite the same load. But if you're going to a coach at university, you want to make sure that there's some sort of tailoring to you. Because if you have a coach, if you're not built for loads and loads of intense training all the time, and you're going to a coach who's going to overload you, then that's not going to be a very good fit for you. It might sound good in theory because you'd be like, oh yeah, this guy gets loads of really good results. But what gets good results for one person might not get good results for someone else. Obviously, the adjustment is difficult. But if you're going to training to university mainly for training, then you just need to sort of prepare yourself for that. You need to teach yourself to cook if you can't cook already. Just easy stuff. I used to chuck, I don't know, pasta bakes and bolognese, some fajitas or whatever in the oven on a Monday and just eat that all the way through till Sunday. Just make sure you've got all your timings nailed down. If you need to get public transport anywhere, research the public transport links. A lot of the stuff that's going to make your life easy at uni is easy stuff you can research before you even get there. So that'll be like public transport, food, all of that stuff, and then researching the coaches and the training plans as well, I would say.
How do I put school first but then also not dip? Because I think for the past 3 years I've put throwing first over everything else. So how do I like change that?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not going to tell you to not revise and just train instead. You've like, as much as a lot of athletes think the academic side of it isn't too important, you do need like the grades to get maybe to a uni you want. If you don't get that, it might limit you, but it's not the end of the world. I would just use your training and your competitions as a break from revision. So when I was training and revising for exams at school and at university, I would revise in the day and then just switch off, go to training at the night. I'd switch off from all my revision, all my exams, go training in the evening, and then switch off from that when I get home. It's back on revision again. You can't just, I don't think you can, it's different for every person obviously, but I can never sit in the house 12 hours one day and just revise the entire time. I think you need to have a good balance. Obviously, if you've got an exam the next day, maybe don't train the night before, unless it really helps you de-stress, and you can go around, just chuck a few things around, do some weights, do whatever your normal training session is. But it's certainly difficult to balance, and might just have to be a period of your life where you might sacrifice a little bit of your training just so that you can get the grades and the results you want. But there's no harm in that. It's not going to be any damage that you do to your training that's completely irreparable. You're going to be able to pick it back up again in a week or two. But if exams are something that really stress you out and you really want to get good grades in them, it's probably something you're going to want to prioritize for the time being, because that's a very limited time span. Whereas you've got 52 weeks in the year to train for athletics. You can train every single week, every single day if you wanted to. But for this 6-week period, there's no shame, no harm in prioritizing your revision a little bit more. If you have to miss a training session to revise, there's no shame in that. Go for it, especially if it's going to help you mentally, because you're not going to train at the best of your ability if you're stressing about your exams as well.
I was just wondering, could we get like an outline from you, like how much do you do like on track, and then how much would you say you do in gym? Like if you were to put gym sessions to track sessions, and would you say you prefer to train more in the morning or in the afternoon? I mean, obviously depending on the day.
So yeah, in the winter, you usually train 4 times a week on the track, 3 times a week in the gym. I try and have at least one complete rest day every week. If I don't have that, I do feel like I burn out a lot quicker. So one of the sessions will be a double session. But then the gym sessions, I normally have 2 heavy, 1 slightly lighter, just so I'm not overloading the gym as well. I've always been more of a track-based athlete. So for me, getting down to the track and doing all the events is much more fun and more enjoyable for me. So if I feel like all my events on the track, be it runs, jumps, or throws, are going really well, I don't have too much of a problem letting one gym session slide to prioritize my training on the track, because at the end of the day, that is where you're going to make the biggest improvements in your technical ability, because you can get as strong and as strong as you like in the gym, but there's only so much transfer it's going to have to your track events. So personally, I would always prioritize your track training over your gym training, especially in the summer. But then, yeah, in terms of my track training, usually it's 3 running sessions a week, and then around those running sessions, we'll normally start with a throw and then hurdle, then do the running, and then maybe a throw or some conditioning after. And then one of the track sessions a week will be just a technical day. So it'll be pole vault, and then maybe a throw or a jump, another jump. But the key for me is if I feel like I'm overloaded and I'm really tired every time I'm going down to the track, I know I need to take a rest, because I hate going down to the track knowing I'm tired, knowing I'm not going to train well. And if I go down to the track, train badly because I'm tired, I just think, well, there wasn't actually much point in me going today. All I've done is make myself more tired and reinforce some bad motor patterns in my head that I wouldn't have done if I was fresh. So like, you can have a regimented training plan, but there's definitely no shame in saying to your coach, your training partners, or even just yourself if you train your own, like, I need a rest today. I'll miss that session, come back to it when I'm a bit fresher, maybe the following week, because you're going to do your best work when you're more fresh than when you're more tired.
Obviously, I've got a few years left of school, but I'm thinking about going to America for college, because obviously English unis, I've had a little research. They don't really appeal the best to me, and I just feel like America would be quite a good starting place to hopefully start my career and stuff. And that's just where I wanted to go. And I was just thinking if you had any thoughts on it.
Yeah, so it's always been a big question with athletes. A lot of them, the prospect of going to America for college seems really, really attractive a lot of the time. I know a lot of people around your age who are dead set on going to America for college all the way through, and then they wind up not going. I think that what's even more key when you're going to America, even than when you're going to university in this country, is you have to do your research. You can't go into it lightheartedly. You've got to very carefully research every aspect of it, because the benefits of it, if you pick the correct uni, are absolutely ridiculous. You get everything handed to you. You get all the support you'll ever need. You won't have to pay for a meal. You get all your recovery sorted. If you ever need physio, you're in there an hour later. But if you pick the wrong uni or the wrong coach, it could completely derail you for quite a while. I've known just as many people who have gone there and succeeded, who have gone there and broken in half and then just never been able to recover. But there's certainly, I would say there's more benefits to drawbacks, but as long as you diligently do all your research, because first off, the competition schedule out there is ridiculous. Like, it's grueling. You're going to be competing every week from December to March or April, and then you'll have a week off, and then you're straight into the outdoor season, and then that's 2 months more competition. But obviously, you'll have the tools better to deal with that in terms of recovery and all the things that are provided to you. So yeah, it's something that you'd have to research more on your own. I think I did write an article about it a little while ago. I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but there's a lot of success stories who have gone out there. So I would say, yeah, research it on your own and contact as many people as you can who have already done it. especially people who might be in a similar situation to you, maybe javelin throwers, or maybe if you wanted to go back into the multi events. Just chat to all of those people, get a really clear idea of where you want to go, what you want to do. Because if you go into it without having done your research, chances are that it's going to go pretty horribly wrong.
Harry, I was just wondering, so pre and post Commonwealth Games, was there like a difference in opportunities for sponsorships? Because obviously having to represent England at such a stage like that is such an illustrious achievement. So I was wondering if it's made things easier in terms of getting sponsorship deals and so forth.
Not noticeably, no. I didn't finish the Commonwealth Games and have floods of offers in my inbox from sponsors. I think I had one recovery company sent me a free massage gun off the back of it, and that was about it really. But like, it's definitely something good to have on your CV, obviously, and it was an incredible experience, and it's not done me any harm. But it's not like I went to the Commonwealth Games, came out, and now I've got like thousands of pounds flooding in from different sponsors who wanted me.
Yeah.
It would probably be a little different if I'd have gone to the Olympics, or if I'd have even medalled at the Commonwealths. Probably have a few more offers in there, but it's not done me any harm in terms of it. Especially like the TV coverage that I ended up getting. People can go online, if they Google my name, they can see clips of stuff I did there, and that certainly doesn't hurt. But no, there wasn't an enormous pickup in sponsorship after that. Again, like I still believe I could have got all the sponsorship I have now before I went to the Commonwealths, if I'd have just emailed the right people at the time.
Yeah. So in saying that, would you say it's more or less how you use an opportunity like that, or how do you generally go about your way in getting a sponsorship? Because typically a lot of athletes would think, okay, cool, I have an international vest, so by default I'm entitled to some sort of sponsorship deals or whatever. Like, I have the vest, so therefore people should be coming to me for something like that. Do you believe that in that sort of mindset, or do you still believe that, okay, cool, I still have to go out of my way and still keep at least reaching out to sponsorships or keep getting the results?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, there's definitely a lot of international athletes have a bit of a chip on their shoulder when they get their international kit. They're like, oh, I'm pretty much at the top level now. Even if it's like English schools internationals. Something I realized maybe a bit too late with sponsorship is just never going to come to you. At the very least, you're going to have to ask, even if it's like your dad. You can be like, Dad, can you sponsor me? Like, your dad's not going to be like, I'll sponsor you, give you all this money. You're always going to have to go a little bit out of your way, and sometimes you're going to have to like swallow your pride a bit, go out and just advertise yourself. It doesn't have to be in a really cringy way. You can advertise yourself how you're comfortable, but you are going to have to go out of your way to find it, because it's not going to just land in your lap. Not unless you're like Dean or Asher Smith, who's going to have thousands of messages in her inbox every day offering her free stuff. Especially at this level, you're going to have to do the most for yourself and go out of your way to find it, and just get yourself out there to as many people as you can all the time.
Obviously with sponsorships, like, does it matter, especially with, I think throwing is always the very maybe niche part of athletics. So like, with sponsorships, does it matter like what companies you're going to? Because if I say hammer throwing to someone, a lot of people don't know what it is. So like, how do you try and explain to them that you do athletics and you're not kind of a weirdo that throws hammers?
Yeah, so like, well, you don't need athletic specific sponsorships. My sponsors at the moment, I've got an accountant, a building society, property developers, financial advisors, and an IT company. None of them have anything to do with athletics. None of them have a clue what's happening. I imagine most people will have had some vague idea of what a hammer throw is, but you can just say, I'm an athlete. And then if you're nervous that people might discriminate because you're a hammer thrower, you can just focus on your achievements. You can write down all your achievements on a sheet of paper. You'd be like, I'm first in a county, international athlete, English schools, whatever. And then just focus on that, and they'll be like, okay, might not have too much of a clue what a hammer throw is, but she's obviously very good at what she does. And if she's going to keep rising up the levels, that's someone we want to support on their journey. One of the most common things I get told when I tell people I'm a decathlete is that I must be really good at cycling and swimming. And I'm like, It's not really the same thing. So barely anyone knows what decathlon is. Most of my sponsors, when I said decathlon to them, they're like, oh, you know Daley Thompson, because that's the only decathlete they know in this country. Luckily I do know, and his son. But yeah, I don't think it should matter too much that you do hammer throw compared to other events. Obviously, some people might not think it's as glamorous as running 100 meters, but I think in the grand scheme of things, as long as you focus on your achievements and don't try and explain the technicalities of a hammer throw to all your sponsors, it shouldn't hamper you in any way, I don't think.
Just a quick question from me. As someone who's about to graduate, I was just wondering, like, what sort of, because not many people talk about postgraduate into the real world. A lot of people like to talk about the general stuff like junior to senior transition. Not many people like to talk about that reality of graduating from university, actually being out from like an institution to quote unquote the real world. Like now you have to work, now you actually have to support yourself. What are some things that you've faced in terms of the realities of, okay, I'm actually not a student in no institution. Now I got to train full time. I got to find some sort of sources of income. Like, what's the realities that you've actually faced and how, I would say, difficult that transition is? Because it's never really easy unless, like you said, you're someone like Dino or Zano Hughes or whoever.
Yeah, so it's definitely a change, because coming out of university, it's the first time in your life where you've got no security. You haven't got school life. You haven't got university life to fill up most of your day. There's like, if you want to still train full time out of uni, there's jobs that you can get that fit around it. I don't know what degree you're doing or what field you wanted to go into, but teaching jobs are quite good if you wanted to work around your training, because at least then you get a massive stretch of holidays through the summer, through competition season. And they can be quite flexible if you're not a full-time classroom teacher. But then there's even jobs like personal training, stuff you can do in your own home. I would say if you're really prioritizing training, remote work is probably one of your best bets for it, because then it's a little bit more flexible. You can always do it if you're going around warm weather training, anything like that. But it's definitely a harsh reality. When I came out of university in end of 2019, I went pretty much straight into COVID. So I didn't really have that much of a transition. I went from being at university, being inside doing all my work and training, to being locked inside for COVID for a year. So it wasn't really till I came out of COVID where I thought, okay, got to actually get a proper job now. But I went into sort of sports coaching and like games teaching in a school, which worked quite well around my training. It was decent money for not too many hours, and now I just do bits and bobs around that. But if you wanted to get a job in your field, I know a lot of people who have full-time jobs and they're also full-time athletes. And if you're a good worker, then a lot of companies will be flexible around your training. I know one girl that I trains at our club, she's a bobsledder. She gets funded. She works full-time, but gets funded also by her company to go and travel the world and do bobsleigh training. So if you find the right company and the right job, it shouldn't be too much of a harsh transition for you. It will feel a bit different because obviously at university and at school, you've got so much time to do everything, especially at university. You can wake up whenever you want, do your work, go training. You've got all that time to do whatever you want. But I would say, yeah, go do your research on your jobs, find a job that's flexible, that works around your training. And then you just got to go from there, really.
I've got a bit of an elbow injury at the moment, which kind of not the best for javelin. It's just, I'm just finding it hard to motivated for rehab, because the rehab I've got at the moment is very, like 200 ball throws with minimal rest. It's not the fun. It's a bit hard to continue.
Yeah. Injuries obviously terrible. Everyone gets them. They're not fun. And the motivation is always going to be the main thing that drops when you're injured. But you've just got to put it into the bigger picture. Every single thing I ever do in training, I always ask, why am I actually doing it? And if I can't come up with a good reason why I'm doing it, then I don't do it, because it's pointless. I'm like, if I'm doing a shot put drill and I'm thinking, why am I doing this specific shot put drill? If I can't think of a reason why it's helping my training at all, I'm not going to do it. But with your rehab, it's obviously helping you recover so you can get back into your training. And also, there's no harm at all in going to get a second opinion on your injury, because they might see something slightly different, and they might give you a whole new set of drills that might seem fun for a month, and then by the end of that month you might have improved by sort of 80-90% in your throwing. So there's definitely no harm if you've got a physio, go see another physio, or maybe go and say like, I've done all these ball drills, they're working, I wondered if you had anything else I can do. Because there's always stages to your rehab. You've got the really basic rehab, like your isometric movements, the really boring stuff, and then you've got sort of banded work, you've got actual weight work, and then the final stage to all rehab is just strength training. If you can work on your like base strength, then you'll find your injuries dissipate quite a lot quicker, I think. Because a lot of people think like, oh, my leg hurts, I probably shouldn't do any deadlift, squat, clean, whatever, something like that. But I think if you can do it and it doesn't hurt, go for it, because it's going to help your base strength more, which is going to help at least cover up your injuries and support your other muscles supporting everything else. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but hopefully there was something in there.